What a wonderful sound. It is when you think, in the stillness of forests and trees and open spaces that are enclosed by green things, leaves largely, you can find peace, serenity and a whole load of other things. And currently, my wonderful guest, Yara, does, don't you? You find all kinds of wonderful things in the spaces that are green.
I do, yes, it's true. I mean, I was born and raised in London, the concrete jungle, but I feel it's very important for people growing up in an urban environment to get a good balance between the modern world and the natural world. And for me personally, and many others who are discovering this, you get peace of mind in nature, away from the hustle and bustle, the noises, the artificial stimuli we're exposed to, the screen time, the Wi-Fi. We've got a lot going on and coming at us in an urban environment, so it can take its toll on mental health. So it's very important to get away from it sometimes, and what better place to do that in than a woodland, in a natural space.
And you're also quite advocate of spending time walking around trees and open spaces to reconnect with things that are basically natural in nature, aren't you? You're very keen to encourage people to do so, spend time in the woodland.
Yes, I am. I will always encourage that, especially to city dwellers. It's less stressful out there. Like I said, there's you can find peace, and it's about connecting your natural senses, like your smell, your touch, your sight, to these environments. And I feel that when you do that, certain receptors that are in your brain that are dormant when you are in an indoor space consistently, they become activated. And it gives you a sense of peace and calm. And also, it's now scientifically proven that your brain behaves better in these environments, and that it's super healthy for your health and well-being.
So the much talked about Shirin-yoku,
yes,
is something you are actively, you've been promoting it anyway for quite some time, and all of a sudden some Japanese teachings are suddenly adopted to that. How do you feel about that? Do you feel that they're catching up with you, or you've been in tune with that all the time?
Well, the thing is it all started for me when I was a teenager. I've always had a passion for the environment and for natural spaces and adventure. And when I was 19, I ended up living in the jungle with a tribal community. And that changed my life path. And when you surround yourself, the world's made up of what we see, right, Stu?
Yep.
We just have to ask ourselves what we're looking at every day and what's influencing us. And when I spent time with indigenous people in the rainforest, these cultures are highly in tune to the natural world. They're living and breathing survival, and they have a deeper understanding to the natural world. And they really inspired me and influenced my life path, actually. So that's where it began.
So, having spent this time with the tribal people, do you feel that they are much more in tune with what needs to be done on a daily basis because they're with nature so closely?
Well, Stu, every time I've spent time with indigenous cultures or tribal cultures, their message has always been the same. And what they've all said to me after spending time with them, they say, Yara, when you go back to the city, tell the city people to stop cutting down the mother trees. These are the ancient trees that give life in so many different ways, and especially in regards to ancient woodlands. These are irreplaceable habitats, okay? Once they are gone, that is it, folks. You cannot replicate over a 1,000-year-old environment. There's specific soil nutrients, there's specific fungi underground that is allowing trees to communicate. And when you take these habitats away, it doesn't just affect indigenous people, it affects many things. It affects the whole of humanity. And I just literally read a a message that has been put out to the global community by the UN. And this is serious, folks. I mean, this message by the UN is telling us that we've got about 12 years before we end up destroying ourselves. Now, if that isn't, you know, a strong wake-up call,
yeah.
you know, it's like we're all a part of this. And I'm seeing many people, not just indigenous cultures, you know, people in the UK standing up and coming together and standing up for nature.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're all in this together now.
Yep.
We've got these people in power with other agendas, and it's almost like a runaway train. And you know, in the past, but now it's all about nature.
Well, you certainly are standing up, I have to say, Yara, because you're wonderfully working a lot with the Woodland Trust, aren't you?
I do. I work with the UK's leading woodland conservation organisation. So we are the Woodland Trust. We protect woodlands, we create woodlands, we restore ancient woodlands, and we are currently campaigning to up the legal rights of ancient trees and woodlands in the UK. So with this is all down to people power.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like we have a belief, we are trying to secure these last remaining ecosystems, but we can't do it without people in the UK. And people uniting and coming together, that is where our strength is at, and that's what I hold on to, Stu.
Do you do these campaigns on email or I think on the social media where they let people sort of get involved in the petitions for the Woodland Trust? Because I see that there are numbers of sites that say, well, there's a petition of this, there's something in the certainly in the Lake District trying to protect the Lake District from being turned into a traffic way, and the Ridgeway, of course, how to preserve that across the sacred site. And of course, unfortunately, that runs right across the front door of Chequers, the Prime Minister's country home. But do you get involved in those things? Is the Woodland Trust involved in that sort of activity?
All the time. All the time. We've become like, we are the voice for trees and woodlands in the UK. And right now, if people want to help, the Woodland Trust has launched a social movement, the Tree Charter. Now, we've taken the old outdated Tree Charter because back many years ago, people used to rely heavily and were dependent on these natural environments.
Yep.
You know, they'd go into them to get medicine, to get resources, to get food. That's why the Tree Charter was created. But, you know, over many years, we've turned away, and our dependence is now on this man-made system, right? So we've turned away, we've become separated from the land, basically. So if people want to, you know, become involved, then sign our tree charter. If you go to www.treecharter.uk, now this isn't a petition, Stu, this is a social movement.
Right.
And this social movement is granting stronger legal protection to trees, to woodlands in the UK. But again, it's about the voice of the people.
Right.
You know, all you need to do, it takes less than under a minute, sign the tree charter.
Right.
Everyone in the UK who breathes in oxygen needs to sign the tree charter.
Well, if they don't have trees, there won't be oxygen for them to breathe, will there?
Well, that's just
They'll be
it.
feeling wellness, okay, but they'll have nothing to breathe, so they can't breathe.
And it's not just oxygen, you know,
No.
that thing we need to breathe, Stuart. I mean, trees, with what you were talking about with the Japanese scientists. So you can actually go to the doctor in Japan and be prescribed a day off work to spend time in woodlands. This is in their NHS. And it's there for a reason. It's because since 1982, they've been doing the studies and the healing benefits of spending time around trees. Trees release an enzyme through their leaves called phytoncides. So when you breathe this in, this boosts your natural killer cell productivity. So AKA, you're upping your immune system. Now, one day of forest exposure will up your immune system for up to 3 to 4 weeks. Right? This is science. You know, this is real. Trees in many different tribal cultures around the world. When a child is born, they'll plant a tree. And the tree and the child, they grow up together. And this creates a beautiful, strong connection to the natural world, which I feel we've lost. But if you go out and you speak to people, Stu, people, they are concerned and they want to do something about it. So if you do, sign that tree charter. That's a step in the right direction. Join the Woodland Trust, add your voice, stand up for these last remaining habitats. Fight for what you believe in.
Well, I know you certainly do, because you're lovely and outspoken and doing wonderful work. Thank you so much for coming onto the show, because I think people should hear all about what you're trying to do. And our woodland, I think they have a wonderful warrior in you, Yara.